Ah, Good morning, everyone, or where you may be across the country. Might be afternoon, taking this on your lunch, but welcome to Food Processing Skills Canada's webinar on the Student Work Placement Program. We have a great set of individuals with us today who are going to be participating in this webinar, sharing their experiences, how they've gone through the program, what they've learned, and so forth, how they communicate with industry, with companies, and how they work with students, types of projects maybe they've been working on at the various facilities. So Camille Polcher, our project manager for this program, will introduce them along the way. But we do have Teresa, Lindsay, and Braden with us here this morning. So I just wanted to let you know a little bit about FPSC, and then we're going to get right into the rest of the agenda for this hour. We're going to keep it tight. We'll keep it moving. So, we stick to our 1 hour time frame, but there will be opportunities for questions and so forth in the chat. I believe you'll be able to do so, and we want to be able to service you as best as we can. And help you along the way. And you'll learn more. We have a great team. So anything you do need, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm coming to you live from Quebec City today, meeting with our French counterparts here in Quebec and making more connections here, and really trying to promote more about the SWPP program here in Quebec. As you know, Quebec is our second largest food manufacturing sector in Canada. So a lot of food processors like transformateurs sont ici in full force. So meeting with various organizations and groups here to let them know about this program. So it's perfect timing. So Food Processing Skills Canada, what we do, what we're about, it's workforce development. Anything around increasing the skills, upskilling, recruitment, retention, research for our industry is what we do. Canada's very well known for our robust systems and standards, certification models that we've had. Canada's really leading the way when it comes to education in the food manufacturing sector and what we've developed here in Canada. So we should be very proud of what we've produced here as a country regarding skills development and training. We do have the largest manufacturing sector in Canada. When you combine kind of our Canada's food economy together and the downstream, not including agriculture. We have over 102 billion of GDP. We're huge. When you combine food service, food retail, food processing, and so forth, we are a large sector to be reckoned with. So we definitely want to continue to push that and get our industry on the map here in Canada. If we can go to the next slide, we have numerous tools and resources, which SWPP is just one of those programs, multiple funded programs that are at no cost to manufacturers, or if anything, something might be a low cost that we can provide to an organization. But anything around certifying your workers, industry data, research, competencies, we need to know where our workers are coming from in the next 5 years and so forth with changes to the immigration program. What are the pools of people, students that we can source from, create that pipeline. We have people with disabilities who are available here in Canada that can add to our pipeline as well, who are available to work. Indigenous communities and so forth. So we've got to tap into the various pools of available labor here in Canada. So we have multiple workforce strategies, and you name it, we have plenty to offer. Our team, we're here located in Ottawa, is our headquarters base. We've got a great team here. We have about 20 staff or so. We've been established actually since 1997. We started off as the Seafood Sector Council, and then they were like, why not represent all of food manufacturing? Why just seafood? So that change happened in 2008. Where we became Food Processing HR Council, and then now our new name is Food Processing Skills Canada. But we have a great team. We get, federal contributions and provincial contribution agreements that we work on across the country. So multiple sources of funding. And then we also do a bit of international work as well. We've done a lot over the last couple of years. So we're engaged with companies across the country. We've provided 3.2 million in reimbursements for students to companies for hiring students, working with the colleges and universities, put on workshops. We've held our first leadership summit last year. We've trained over 1,500 supervisors in the last year and a half. We currently have, I think, over 900 frontline workers in training right now. So really celebrating the successes of those programs and the graduates and the return on investment that companies are receiving. We know that $1 of investing in training gives you $20 of return to the organization. So really measuring the programs and evaluating the programs and the change in workforce culture has been really important to what we're doing. But yeah, numerous things that we're doing to engage businesses. And like we mentioned, we have a few other or many other types of funded programs, skills training across Canada. So that's for frontline workers and supervisors. We have a really great disability program. We call it Foodability, where we're really educating and creating awareness to the industry about all the individuals that are available to work in Canada that may have a hidden disability or neurodiverse autism spectrum and so forth, but that's another pool of labor that is available. So just really trying to educate. There's also training that goes along with that programming. We got certifications and we have monthly speaking food webinars as well. So I think I'll leave it there and now let Camille hand over the wheel here and take over for the rest of the presentation.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, and thank you for a wonderful overview of who we are at FPSC. Like she says, we're all things workforce development, and I'm happy that the Student Work Placement Program gets to be a part of that. We operate as a pretty tiny but mighty team with quite a large reach. We do manage the program funding with the direct oversight from our executive director and our support from our finance manager and the rest of our team, including our national and bilingual representatives. So the Student Work Placement Program, for those who are not aware, is designed specifically to offer wage support of up to $7,000 per student per term to employers who hire college or university students for a co-op work term. We are guided by the Cooperative Education and Work Integrated Learning Canada, so CWIL's framework for what work integrated learning means, which essentially states that work integrated learning at its core is an engaged partnership between an employer, an institution, and a student. We like to ensure that we're maintaining that structure, and through that structure, employers are able to offer quality student work placements. That's where SWPP Plus steps in and offers a wage subsidy for those placements. These WIL opportunities are not just restricted to co-op placements, but also include internships, mentorship opportunities, field placements, and work experience. FPSC is proud to be ASDC's representative chosen to manage this funding stream for the food and beverage processing industry. That includes all subsectors of food and beverage manufacturing. It also includes cannabis edibles manufacturing, food-related associations and businesses, retail, grocery stores, and consultants in the field. So if you're thinking of food and beverage processing, this is a stream that you would be engaged in for accessing funding. The program is a reimbursement program, and therefore companies must be financially capable to hire a student, whether it is for a part-time or a full-time work term, pay them consistently, including all deductions for the students, etc. And they must be able to demonstrate an increase in their projected number of hires of students, since now they're having access to funding. So if you used to hire 5 students before, we want to be able to see that now that you have access to funding, you can probably hire 10 students. So we want to measure the projected increase so that we can track how the program funding is impacting the hiring. So I said SWPP will reimburse gross wages paid by food and beverage employers who provide eligible students with meaningful work integrated learning opportunities and align with all other student and employer criteria that we have. So the numbers that we're looking at here are per student per term. And let's just go over very briefly what the eligibility criteria is for the students. Students must be Canadian citizens, permanent residents, or student persons to whom refugee protection has been conferred. They must be in a recognized Canadian post-secondary institution. And most importantly, they must be undertaking a placement that is recognized as work integrated learning in connection with a course, degree, certificate, or diploma. Or other recognized program offered by that institution. As we said, work integrated learning is a partnership between the academic institution, the employer, and the student. And at no point do we want to take any of those members out of that agreement. Our previous webinar was on how the process of finding and hiring eligible students, and I would encourage you to take a look at that webinar. Hopefully we'll be able to post a link to that in the chat if you'd like some insights on finding and hiring eligible students. So both sets of placements are eligible for at least 50% of wages up to $5,000. However, if a student identifies as being from an underrepresented category, so whether they are a woman in STEM, visible minority, first-year student, persons with disabilities, Indigenous students, then the employer is eligible to access 70% of wages up to $7,000 paid per student per term. Our application process is managed through our online portal, and it is a pretty straightforward process once we have an eligible student identified. So what it is that we encourage our employers to start their application via our website, swpp-fpsc.com. They start the online application, we confirm employer eligibility, then we take our time to ensure student eligibility for funding in this program. Then we're able to approve and reserve funding. At the end of the term, we'll take a look at the financial documents that have been provided. So whether it's a pay stubs to calculate exactly how much has been paid, then we'll be able to issue a check for the reimbursement of those wages paid. So currently we're still accepting applications for summer 2025 and also for fall 2025. We do want to also note that this isn't just access to funding through this program. As Jennifer had mentioned, we are all things workforce development. So in addition to getting access to $7,000 per student placement, employers and students that are participating in the program get access to a suite of courses valued at about $4,000 from our food skills library in order to ensure that we're having a successful placement. So this is to assist with onboarding, it's to assist with a successful introduction to the food and beverage industry, and also to create a culture for the employers, for the supervisors that are on file for continuous learning. So building on empathy, building on workplace culture and emotional intelligence in the workplace, etc. And for the students, they will have access to courses on food safety, on lockout, tagout, on standard operating procedures, etc. All of this we're able to offer in addition to funding at no cost to our employers or participating employers. So the benefits of hiring a co-op student. Hopefully I've at least whet your appetite a little bit about the fact that there is funding available and how much that funding can cover. But why exactly would a company choose to engage with hiring a student? From our perspective, we have seen that they're able to provide businesses with fresh ideas, with energy. They are high quality talent. They do help to improve operational efficiency during peak seasons. But I would love to hear a little bit more from those that are actually working with the students and have engaged with multiple employers about this kind of information. So at this point, I would love to introduce our first panelist, Teresa, to talk to us a little bit from her perspective at Dalhousie, to join in on this discussion on the benefits of hiring students and sharing a little bit about the programs that are offered through Dal. Teresa is the Employer Relations Manager for Work Integrated Learning and Cooperative Education at Dalhousie University. She leads an amazing team of professionals that engage with industry across the country on behalf of students in their 29 co-op and master's internship programs. She has over 25 plus years of professional experience in post-secondary, nonprofit, and federal government. And she also serves as the Atlantic representative on the CWIL National Board, representing all post-secondary institutions in the Atlantic region. So, Teresa, I would love for you to share with us what benefits have you seen from companies that are choosing to engage with students and what co-op opportunities are available through Dalhousie?
Wow, where do I start? Well, first off, happy to be here. Thank you everyone for coming. I'm happy to be here to represent the East Coast. Um, so as I get into this, I just wanted to share a little bit about Dalhousie, just so everyone's aware. So we have over 21,000 students at Dalhousie, and what's a shock to many when we connect with employers is that 62% of our students are from outside Nova Scotia. So they're joining us from all across the country. We also have 23% international students with 115 countries represented. And between our department and our colleagues in the faculty of management, there's 2,700 students that take part in co-op program work term and internships each year. Next slide. So here are some of our top co-op programs. So we have architecture and planning. We have commerce co-op, which is one of the Dalhousie's flagship programs. They also host a corporate residency MBA and a master's of public administration. In our STEM world that I'm part of, we have students in computer science, engineering, science, sustainability, as well as master's programs, including our Masters of Resource and Environmental Management. And of course, some of the health professions have the microbiology and immunology. Next slide. So here are just a snippet of things that our students do. And again, they travel across the country. Why? Because they're from all across the country. So, it's always good to diversify your hiring, recruitment to other post-secondaries. So in commerce, we have students doing marketing assistant roles, digital marketing, accounting, HR, business analyst roles. In computer science, we have everything from, again, data analyst, cybersecurity, software developer, app development, website development, you name it, IT tech support. Next slide. In engineering, we have a number of engineering programs that have been in operation for, over 45 years. And actually, we're celebrating 55 years of co-op at Dal. So in engineering, we have our civil, mechanical, electrical, and these are just some of the roles they do. Science, again, research, lab tech, environmental field, sustainability, or working in companies, doing a number of different roles. But when I think of food and processing, we've had students in the plants, really having a huge impact, saving the company money, improving processes, efficiencies, and really taking a lot of load off of the full-time staff so they're able to do higher level projects. But these students are like super capable. And if you're not hiring co-op students, you're missing out for sure. Um, Next slide. Yeah, so there's my contact info. I think just to answer your question at the beginning, Camille, why should companies hire co-op students? Students that are doing co-op as part of their undergrad, this is not just a summer job. They are driven. There's requirements that students have to do before they come into co-op programs. During their co-op work term, they have to do a number of requirements as well. When they're applying on jobs, they're juggling course load while they're going for interviews. So these students are driven and they get an academic credit on their transcripts. So, they have a huge desire to do well. And companies are benefiting greatly from hiring co-op and student talent. So I'll leave it there for now. Happy to be there as a resource at any point.
Thank you so much for that, Teresa. One last question for you before I move on to the next panelist. But do you find that you have quite a few of your employers returning for students term after term, year after year? Is this a part of their ongoing hiring practices?
100%. We have employers that have grown their companies from initial startups to big manufacturing companies. They might have started in R&D and they've kind of grown But yeah, 100% companies are using, many companies across this country are using co-op and, all the funding that's out there to kind of help students get experience they need to be their future workforce. So many of them come back to hire term after term, year after year, and some of them turn out to be alumni and they're in those roles coming back to hire once they graduate. And so many of them stay on. If companies give a great onboarding experience and a great opportunity for students, they will come back. They will share that excitement and knowledge with their colleagues and their fellow students. So it's very strategic for companies. It's definitely, I have companies that I've talked to over the years that this is how they grew their workforce. And it's very strategic to get in front of students and, um, be able to hire students and get them to come back.
Wonderful. I love that you shared about so many different types of programs that you offer, ranging from the commerce, the computer science, engineering, architecture, computer science, and all of those kinds of programs as well. And it's important to note that as far as accessing funding goes through SWIP Plus, we can not only offer funding for consecutive terms, each term would, however, require its own applications. If a student is with you for 3 back-to-back terms, then we would just need 3 applications for the student. But also, as it relates to the food and beverage industry, we recognize that it takes a lot of programs and a lot of different skill sets to make an organization work. So we are open to students from various disciplines in terms of eligibility for funding, as long as the placement is a work integrated learning opportunity. So through this funding stream, we're not just talking about you have to be engaged in food processing. We're talking about an accountant doing an accounting internship or an accounting student doing an accounting internship in a food and beverage processing facility. So that's great context for us to think broader about what this program means and how it can actually benefit your organization. Thank you so much, Teresa. I would like to introduce our next panelist. We have Lindsay here from Ontario Tech University, and she is the Executive Director for Cooperative Education, Experiential Learning, and Career Development. She has been with Ontario Tech for 19 years in a variety of different capacities, including research administration, external relations, and most recently as the Executive Director for a new centralized experiential learning co-op and careers unit. Prior to this, she worked for 11 years in provincial government under economic development investment and research innovation portfolios. And she has volunteered with local boards of trade chambers of commerce, local training boards, and children's charities. Lindsay, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My question for you, after you share a little bit about Ontario Tech and what it is that you do there and the co-op programs that you have there, is typically how are your co-ops structured as 16-week periods? Do you offer programs that are longer, shorter? How does that work for Ontario Tech? How is this valuable and productive for both the employer and for the student?
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. As per Teresa, I'm really excited to be here today and to share this information with you. I thought a little bit about Ontario Tech. We are a new university, new in relative terms. We've only been around since 2003. But despite that, we're actually growing very fast. We have over 12,000 students and over 35,000 alumni in that time. From our outset, we were mandated to be a market responsive institution. So when you look at the types of programs that we have, it really was about being responsive to the labor market needs of the community and of the country. STEM is really at our core. So that whole science, technology, engineering, and math is a real fundamental of where the university is based out of. And we are physically located in Oshawa and really support and drive innovation in education and economic growth, but not just locally here in Durham region and in the GTA, but honestly, we have, like Teresa, we have students that come from across Ontario and across Canada and internationally as well. Just wanted to give you an overview of cooperative education in general at the university. Looking at, kind of like Teresa as well in Dalhousie, we offer it across co-op programs across the institution. So right now we have programs in 5 out of our 6 faculties. So when I look at business and IT, these are all your commerce programs. So your HR, your marketing, your accounting, finance, as well as technology management, as well as IT programming. So things like IT networking, cybersecurity. In engineering, we have 9 different programs thinking about, and they range from manufacturing engineering, as well as software, electrical, mechanical, and mechatronics. Science is your full suite of chemistry, biology, integrated mathematics, industrial mathematics, and computer science. And then we have 5 new programs starting in our social science and humanities, so that legal studies, communications, as well as education. So if you think of you're a training organization and adult learners, how do you actually help and create education training programs? Our co-op terms were very flexible with regards to that, and typical to most institutions, we have a fall, winter, spring starts for when students actually can start their programs, but there is some flexibility in that. So typically it might be like a May 1st start, but you can, as long as you get your 12 weeks and your 420 hours for the student, it can start a little later than that. So there is flexibility within the program. We also offer flexibility in the fact that students and employers can post and students can accept placements up from 4, 8, 12, or 16 months in duration. And what's also nice for employers is sometimes an employer wants to start with maybe a 4 or 8 month co-op placement. Then they really like the student. There is the opportunity to extend that out as long as the student is interested and willing, and as long as they're having conversations about their program map and when they can actually end up graduating. So there's lots of flexibility built into a lot of programs. As you know, they all have to be paid. And the other thing I think most employers really need to know is that for institutions, students are required to do a certain amount of their academics before they ever go out and into your, have their placement in your location. And so students are, prior to that, are given a prep course, so they're understanding their own skills and competencies and how to articulate those to you, but also understanding their roles and responsibility and what an employer's roles and responsibility are before they ever come out and work at your location. So I was specifically, next slide, sorry, Camille, to ask about, give a little bit of a case study. And so we wanted to highlight a student, his name is Adam, and he works at FGF Brands. So a little bit about FGF, they are a food manufacturing company that specializes in sweet goods, non-breads, and artisanal breads, and they supply customers around North America. So they see themselves as a tech company that bakes. So they use advanced robotics, AI, and technology to actually support their sustainability goals and do improve their processes. And it's really resulted in their elimination of synthetic ingredients into the products that they produce. They support the SWPP program and hire co-op students. So right now they have 135 students across North America, 5 of which happen to be Ontario Tech students. And as you can see, they hire from a wide variety of disciplines. So computer science, different types of engineering, as well as networking and IT. And I wanted to give you on the next slide this is Adam, who is currently working there. So Adam is a computer science student in his 3rd year, and he's working in the IT department of this organization in their quality assurance group. So he is responsible for reporting software, monitoring software, designer solutions, automated onboarding solutions. He is, sorry, I'm getting my notes. he is responsible for software development. So he's actually writing software programs and programming for different tools that people are using. He's doing automated testing and general testing. So when someone else develops a software tool, he's validating it to make sure that it meets production standards. When he's looking at software methodologies, so guidelines and rules around how to test or develop software, it's again, so they meet industry standards. And so really engaged within a whole multiple facets of the organization. And this could be from the manufacturing, or as Camille was just saying, it could be these types of processes as they deal with your back office, your administrative units. So we asked him about the types of skills. So we talked a little bit about the types of soft skills that he needs that he's communicated to his employer, as well as obviously lots of technical skills and programming languages. So lots of skills and technologies that he's contributing to this organization. And you can see that from his quote from his supervisor that just talks about the types of manual testing, writing test cases, and the contribution that Adam is giving to the company. One of the things I think that thinking about structuring a work placement for a student, one of the key parts, honestly, is really thinking about the planning ahead of time and just making sure everyone is understanding the goals and responsibilities that what you actually want the student to actually do. And it's really a balance of providing supervision for the student, but also a lot of autonomy so the student can explore and develop their skills and competencies. So that's kind of it for me. I think it's my contact information next. Yep, and there. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful, and looking forward to answering questions.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I appreciate the information that you've shared, especially on the specific case study of Adam and how he's been working. I love that you were able to highlight the specific tasks that he's been able to do and accomplish through that company. I think oftentimes when we think of co-op and we think of work terms, we think of it in the lens of corporate social responsibility. This is my way of giving back to society by providing these students with mentorships and opportunities. But oftentimes we forget that students are bringing their skill set and what they've been learning to the workplace and are actually able to contribute in very tangible ways. For my next question for you is, for employers that are looking for a student, do you find it helpful when they engage with you with a list of specific tasks that they want to have this student complete? If they come to you and say, okay, hi, Lindsay, I'm looking for a co-op or a work integrated learning student. I need to have this and this and this done within my organization. Can you please guide me on finding the best fit? What is the best avenue for matching the right student with the right role within an organization?
I think there are definitely companies that come in with very specific tasks and goals in mind, and that's great. If that's the case, then we absolutely help them develop the job description and promote that internally within the institution. You know, leveraging so the students have a specific job portal where they all of the jobs are posted, but also we have the opportunity to connect back in with faculty. If there's something very niche or specific, you go back into faculty members that are teaching these students, help you to identify potential candidates that are really targeted for that role. We also find, though, that sometimes some employers come in with more of a generic approach, and then really when they're interviewing, it's more about some of the technical skills, but the soft skills. And it's really when they meet and interact with the students in the first couple of weeks that they identify kind of key interests and then redirect them to a project that might be of interest both to the student, but also something that the company needs to get done as well. So it can be either or, but I would say often it is with a targeted task and role in mind that an employer comes and approaches the institution.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thanks.
I'm going to shift gears and go straight over to our final panelist for this morning, which is going to be Braden from Red River Polytechnic. He's going to be sharing with us a bit on real world success stories. So let's hear from Braden. Braden is the Work Integrated Learning Coordinator from Red River College Polytechnic in Winnipeg, Manitoba. He works alongside students and employers to create meaningful career launching co-op and practicum terms. I love those words, meaningful and career launching. I love it. With a background in adult education, Braden looks to incorporate a student-centered, inclusive approach to career readiness while engaging with industry to support Manitoba's growing talent pipeline. He previously taught for 5 years within the Science Lab Technology program at RRC Polytech, where he helped students prepare for work as laboratory technicians and quality assurance technicians, supporting learners in building confidence through hands-on learning. So Braden, I'm going to hand over to you. Can you please share with us some additional examples, probably more from the lab tech side of things, on where co-op students have contributed significantly to innovation, process improvements, or any of those kinds of roles within a food and beverage organization?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Camille. And thank you, Lindsay and Teresa, for your talks earlier today. So yes, my name is Braden Wiley. I'm a Work Integrated Learning Coordinator, which is a bit of a mouthful. So we call ourselves WHEEL coordinators. I work in Winnipeg at Red River College Polytechnic, and here I support co-ops and practicums across many of our health and science programs. So at RRC Polytech, the program that's most relevant to the food and beverage industry is our Science Lab Technology Diploma program. Within this program, students are preparing to work as either lab technicians or quality assurance technicians. So they're gaining hands-on experience in skills like microbiology, applied chemistry, quality assurance, and this allows them to get experience and work across a wide range of industries. So this program has a 4-month co-op as the final term of the program. And what I love about this is it allows employers to transition summer co-op into potentially longer term employment if the fit's right. And this is what I see most of the time. So the last 2 years, we've seen about 2/3 of our co-op students receiving extended offers at the end of their co-ops. And that other 1/3 I find is largely due to those roles being seasonal. So it's an increased demand over the summer, and then that demand isn't needed from the employers anymore. So most of our students who are in positions where the employers are considering extending employment, they are getting those offers afterwards. So within the food and beverage industry, I regularly see our students take on roles within dairy, within ag processing. We see students in wholesale bakers and chicken processing. This year we have some students doing some brewing work and some regular work around food product development and cannabis. For this seminar, I was asked how can students contribute to organizations, particularly when it comes to innovation and process improvement. So to answer that, I'd like to take a zoom in at one of our students who completed their co-op last year as a student research technician supporting food research. So this student was working at the Prairie Research Kitchen, which is a TAC center here in Winnipeg, and it's part of Red River College. So during the students' co-op work term, they contributed to several areas of food manufacturing and research, including passive planning, SOP development, product testing, and sensory analysis. So one of the most impactful contributions that this student developed was that HACCP plan. So they helped identify some biological hazards, they defined critical control points, and drafted monitoring and collective action procedures. So their involvement here ensured that the prevention controls were not only in place, but were also clearly documented, something that can be especially challenging for small scale companies or when working with emerging technologies. This student also contributed to writing standard operating procedures or SOPs, particularly around cleaning and sanitation. And these SOPs have now since been instituted by the company they're working with as part of the routine lab processes. So this is another great example of why co-op students can be an asset, not just to support the busy time, but to bring special skills that might not currently exist within a team. So for a small or growing business, a student's knowledge in areas like food safety, chemistry, or documentation can help address immediate gaps within your work. So within the lab, which was the other part of the students' work, they were supporting product validation for various food development projects. So they were performing analytical testing, so like pH meters or pH readings, moisture content, largely to assess shelf life stability. And these results were helping to decide ingredient selection, process steps, and packaging for the manufacturer they're working alongside. So ultimately, this was helping support safer, more stable products. And then the last part here is the texture and sensory analysis. So they were helping assess the consistency, that mouthfeel, that flavor of a product. So again, contributing directly to consumer experience and helping clients bring a more appealing, market-ready product forward. So alongside their technical contributions, this student they were given the space to explore a personal research project. This isn't something we ask employers to provide, but I was very happy to see that the student was allowed to develop and explore a project on their own. And in their case, they chose a product focused on sustainability. So this student, using food waste, they looked at creating a new product. So they were taking that food waste and trying to get some essential oil extracted out of it, trying to get a value-added product from a waste stream. So a great example of upstreaming. So altogether, this co-op placement demonstrated how students can contribute meaningfully both to innovation and operational excellence within food manufacturing. So they brought scientific knowledge into this real-world setting. They strengthened safety practices for their company they're working with, and they supported product development, ultimately helping create a better output for the producer and the consumer. All right, thank you. Oh yes, and there's my contact information. So yeah, please feel free to send me an email if you'd like to connect.
Thank you so much, Braden, for that. I love the technical aspects that the students were able to bring on for those specific roles that you had mentioned. It's wonderful when we can hear of completed projects that have been done. Are we talking about, were these placements occurring during a 16-week period, or was it over a longer time frame?
Yes, so at Red River, most of our co-ops are 4-month placements. We do have some that are 6-month, but they're generally aligning with the academic terms. So some of our programs do have 2 co-ops, but they're typically like the 1 year or the 2-year mark of the program, generally over the summer. That's our highest time for co-ops. And for the science lab program, they only have that summer co-op placement at the end of the program, running from May to August.
Those are incredible deliverables coming out of just a 16-week co-op placement. I do have one last question for our panelists, and I'm going to go in the order that you originally presented. But what unique value do co-op students bring to food and beverage companies that traditional hires or short-term interns might not offer? So why a co-op student? Why not just hire somebody full-time or hire just a regular person, even part-time? Let's start with Teresa.
This is a great question, and certainly one that I've talked to many CEOs, managers over the years. And one thing's for sure that most managers and hiring managers say is, I should have hired co-op students sooner. Why didn't I do this? You know, the value that co-op students bring, they're driven, they're motivated. They are keen to learn and provide value to companies. And as I mentioned earlier, they actually get an academic credit, so they are driven to do well. And they really want to help companies move forward. And I think that's the biggest message I would say to everyone here. If you haven't hired co-op students or students in work integrated learning programs, you're missing a whole cohort of students that bring so much value to your company. It doesn't take a lot of time. That's the thing I hear from companies a lot too, is I didn't realize like how quick they got through everything and did it so amazing. Like I have full-time staff that are at the same, have done amazing, as great as the co-op students have done, as great jobs as some of their current staff. So I think don't delay, hire co-op students. There's a wealth of funding, which has been mentioned, and there's a lot of keen students that you can be tapping into to help for your immediate and future hiring needs.
Thanks, Teresa. Lindsay?
Well, often, so longer than hiring a co-op student versus maybe some shorter options is just the longer the student is there, the more fully engaged they are, the more they understand your organization, they understand your sector, they know the players and and colleagues within your organization. I think the benefit of students is new ideas, new innovations, different technologies, an understanding of what's coming down the pipe. I think also, organizations really need policies and processes and the best practices that we need to follow. But sometimes having something like a student, they think outside of the box because maybe they don't know all of those rules and boundaries that we impose on ourselves. And they, often sometimes they streamline something because they just see it in a completely different way because they're not bound by those same rules and regulations, or at least at the ideation stage. I think also one of the real benefits of hiring co-op students is just the connection back into your post-secondary partner. The fact that it connects into research opportunities. It connects back into other types of engagement on campus. It helps you build your brand, both with more students in the organization, but also just throughout the organization itself, the institution, and the broader community. And then, as Teresa and Camille obviously note, tax credits and funding supports. Like, you get some really unique opportunities as a result of hiring co-op and internship students.
Thanks, Lindsay. And Braden?
Yes, so looking at co-ops and term positions as the same thing, I think is a common error that many employers and students make. So co-op education is an extension of their academic studies. So within them, students are being encouraged to be curious, ask questions, and make connections between theory and practice. Kind of what Lindsay was connecting and talking about there. But yeah, what's often overlooked is how this learning dynamic extends to the environment around them. So work integrated learning is a partnership. Employers who support this mindset, encourage learning, also find themselves reflecting on how and why they do the things they do. So explaining processes to someone new, especially someone who's actively learning, can help uncover gaps within their own processes and really challenge that idea of we've always done it this way. So it provides opportunity for employer learning as well. So when co-op is approached in a two-way learning experience where both you and the student are learning, it becomes a space for reflection, mentorship, and innovation. So if you are interested in learning more about how students learn during their co-ops, I would invite you to check out Kolb's learning cycle. So Kolb spelled Kolb. I'm sending you away with some homework here.
Thank you so much for that, Braden. A little homework is always welcome. I love this discussion about, we use the word co-op often, but we're talking about work integrated learning and all the forms of work integrated learning that might include, whether it's an internship, field placement, etc., not just co-op. But I do love that. And what I love about this program in particular, or hiring co-op students and being able to access funding for that, is that it really does help with organizations looking to fill short-term gaps. You may have a larger need in your company, but don't have the financial capacity to take on an employee full-time for a year. One thing we also talk about is just even the hiring decisions that need to be made. Sometimes one interview, 2 interviews is not enough to know whether someone is a right fit for your company long-term. And even being able to hire a student, a co-op student, for a 16-week period gives you a longer process to see if this is going to be a long-term feasible fit for your organization. You get to test them out in that culture, in that space, before you make a decision upon graduation to say, hey, I'm going to now offer you a full-time position after you graduate. So I do have some employers that leverage that opportunity. They hire final year students. They're in a 1-year program, so a whole year of their wages are subsidized. After which, upon graduation, they're now able to offer them a full-time role with the company, having had 1 year of them working with, engaging in the culture, contributing to the company. And so they use that as a part of their hiring practices going forward. I'm a dollars and cents kind of person, and I like to talk about the financial impact of having students versus hiring a full-time employee to do a particular role. So if we're talking about, for example, a QA or a HACCP coordinator and the specific tasks that can be accomplished in a 16-week period, things like sanitation inspections, critical control points, label packaging, compliance checks, internal audits, food safety drills, HACCP and documentation management. Is this something that your organization needs an employee full-time to manage at an average? Of course, no give and take. This will now vary across province, but at an average salary range of about $55,000 for the year to hire a full-time HACCP coordinator? Or does your organization maybe just need a short-term project, someone to fill a gap, to work on getting documentation done, like Braden had explained, and just be able to now hire a student for maybe a $12,000 for a 16-week term, and then get that subsidized? Does your company have the capacity to pay $55,000 for a full-time employee? Or would they be better served with a co-op student that they would pay $5,000 to $7,000 out of pocket for a 16-week term to accomplish a lot of the same tasks? These are the kinds of conversations that we need to be having and we need to be engaging in across different roles. And these are roles that we're seeing coming up as recurring roles, as frequent applied for roles from our employers that we are engaged with and providing funding for. Let's take a look at the marketing and digital marketing. This is an area that you need a responsive team. We need content creation. You need social media marketing. We were all just rocked from a business perspective on Made in Canada and how quickly that took off, how responsive employers had to be with navigating that political landscape and the changes required from a marketing standpoint. Would you company need to hire a full-time marketing coordinator for $57,000 to $7,000 for a year? Or would you more have the capacity to say hire a 16-week marketing or digital marketing co-op student to help get you started and only pay $3,000 to $5,000 after receiving subsidy for a 16-week term? We can look similarly at a mechanical engineer, for example. There are so many functions that they can serve within an organization. And this is specifically things that can be done within a 16-week period. We're talking about process improvement projects, equipment installation and commissioning, utility systems monitoring, safety and compliance checks. Food safety is what we're all about. What do you need from your organization? Do you need do you have the capacity to include someone on your team full-time for $75,000 to $86,000 for a year as a gross wages? Or would it be better suited for your organization to just have to spend between $8,000 to $10,000 to hire a co-op student for a 16-week term to maybe tackle some of those smaller projects that you have in mind that need to be done? So this is a conversation that we want to engage in. Hiring students is beneficial to the student. It helps with your hiring practices. They bring innovation and ideas to your organization. They help to manage the load of your team, just to even spread the load amongst your probably already stretched staff, allow people time that they can take vacation. There's less strain on the team, just managing your organization and your organization culture differently by bringing in a 16-week co-op or an intern to help with managing some of that load and the financial benefits where that is concerned. From feedback that we've gotten from our employers and students that have participated in the program and have received funding, I'm just going to pick out a few of this survey information we have here from the last fiscal year. 94% of our employers were satisfied or very satisfied with their student performance, right? The students are showing up and they're delivering. They're working on their projects and the employers are happy with the performance that they're doing. 6 to 7% would hire the student in the future. Now, this is a great stat, right? Because this shows us not only are there majority of our employers that are happy with their hire, but it also shows the benefits of being able to have that trial period within an organization to say, this probably wasn't the right fit for me, and be able to make that decision that maybe someone else would have fit with our company culture, or perform a little better. And so in terms of a hiring practice and onboarding and bringing on members into your team, you get the benefit of a trial period of a 16 weeks before you're able to offer them something full-time. The 98% said the employer said the placement benefited the company. 93% said that they would not or maybe wouldn't have even considered hiring a student if they didn't have access to program funding. So these are some important stats to note. 95% said they would consider using SWPP Plus to support their HR planning. Planning is what it's all about. It's about identifying the gaps in your organization and planning for how you can reasonably fill those gaps, noting the seasonality of the nature of the work that it is that you do. Co-ops are a good opportunity to leverage, and so too funding. Great opportunities for an organization in the food and beverage industry to leverage. From the student perspective, we can see that 95% of the students are satisfied or very satisfied with their completed placement. And then I want to jump to the stat down at the bottom very quickly, which says that 60% will now consider careers in the food and beverage industry. What's important to note is that these 60% here were students that never considered the food and beverage industry before, right? Jennifer had opened up her presentation sharing that we are one of the larger employers across Canada, and these students had never even thought of it. They never thought that their accounting degree could lead them to a career in food and beverage industry, that their HR, that their customer service, that their marketing degree could lead them across to a large employer in Canada, or in the largest, one of the largest industries in Canada. And so that's a good stat. It's also good to know that 25% of them were already aligned for food and beverage industry. So 60% are now open to the idea of exploring the food and beverage industry as a viable career option after they graduate. And I think this is now where we wrap up. A wonderful time that we've made today with such insightful information from all of our panelists. But I think now is where we wrap up and we ask if there are any questions that were available or made in the chat that we can address. Tiffany, do we have any questions for us?
Yes, we have one question.
I'm not hearing you very clearly. Do you mind?
Can you hear me better?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a question. It says, do you offer pre-approval screening for employers who may want to know if they are eligible prior to hiring an eligible student?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Perfect.
Do you offer pre-approval screening for employers who may want to know if they're eligible prior to hiring an eligible student?
We open that floor for conversation with our students. I will have my information here. We can have conversations. You're always free to reach out via the program email at info@swip-fpsc.com, or reach out to me directly at cpolt@fpsc-ctac.com, and we can talk about proposed eligibility. One thing I would like to say is that we do not approve funding until we have confirmed student and employer eligibility. So we're not going to give a stamp of approval until we have confirmed that the student is in fact eligible, the employer is in fact engaged in the industry. But if you'd like for us to engage in conversation as to whether this is the right fit for you, I would say you can reach out to me directly and we can discuss that further.
Yes, and then we have somebody asking that if we have any handouts that we can give to employers.
Handouts?
Yes, I'm wondering if they're institutional handouts or program handouts.
We do have some SWPP program information that we can have for employers. I would say reach out to me directly. We can work on mailing you a package for actual printed handouts. If it's for digital files, we can also have those made available for you. We love partnering with our organizations, and we love partnering with associations as well. And we can provide you with digital files to share with your network of employers in the food and beverage industry on additional program information. These are great bites that can be put in a digital newsletter on your program website. Request it directly and we'll be happy to send you what support information we have.
Perfect. And we have one last final question. Will you please share a recording of today's webinar?
Absolutely. The recording will be shared tomorrow once it is set up and live, along with the slide deck that we have used today, including contact information for all of our wonderful panelists. So if you have any more industry or school co-op specific questions that you would like to send to Teresa, Braden, or Lindsay directly from their respective schools, their contact information will also be included on that deck to go up tomorrow. I think we may have time for one more. Do we have any more?
We have a comment about international students. Maybe if you want to talk about the eligibility
Sure.
system for international students, that would be great.
Sure, that's two different sets of information there. I am sure that from a school perspective, Braden, Teresa, and Lindsay are fine with accepting international students, but from a funding perspective, our program is funded by ESDC, and our program requirements require domestic students. So Canadian citizens, permanent residents, or conferred refugees are eligible for funding through the stream. International students are not. That's something we continue to discuss, but at the point our program is restricted to domestic students only.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Camille, for that.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. A big thank you again to Teresa from Dalhousie University, Lindsay Coolidge from Ontario Tech, and from Braden Wiley from Red River Polytechnic. Thank you so much for joining our conversation today. I hope that you've been able to learn about this funding opportunity and also the opportunity of hiring eligible co-op students to contribute to your business. Co-ops, if you're not hiring co-op students yet, now is the time to do it. If you haven't applied for funding yet, now is the time to do it. This can be a tremendous benefit to your organization. I think at this point, we're going to wrap up for the day. And I just want to thank you all again for attending. Do have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Marwan, are we done?
Yeah, good to go. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Bye now.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.